Hello, ladies, and welcome to another Wednesday conversation. I have a question for you today. What's your go to line when you feel like things are a little off in your life, but you don't really want to face what you're feeling inside? What's your go to line? My go to line wasn't creative, trust me, it wasn't original. It was, I feel a little tired. That's what I would say. And I believed it, kind of, sort of. Well, if I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't believe it, but it was something I would say to myself and to others that sounded believable. And if any other thought popped in my head, I would just push it away and convince myself that I was tired. How many of you have done that? You come up with something that sounds right, right? Sounds believable to you and everybody else around you, but you know that you are just not dealing with something that you know that you need to deal with, something you know feels off. Hi, Natasha. Thank you for joining me. I'm watching my comments this time for this episode. So thank you for joining me. So, how many of you have come up with your go to line? Listen, what if I told you those go to lines like, I feel a little tired or I'm a little stressed? Those excuses are just part of a pattern of distracting yourself from issues that are challenging you. That's today's conversation. The subtle ways we avoid telling ourselves the truth. But before we get started, put in the chat where you are watching me from. I'm in the Maryland, DC area where it is hot. I did my walk this morning at 6:30 and it was already 70 degrees and it's expected to get hotter. So put in the chat where you are watching me from, and if you're in a scorch, if you're facing a scorch of a day, tell me how you're going to deal with that. Okay. Um, for those of you who are joining me for the first time, I'm Constance Howard. I'm an executive coach. I help women bridge the life they have to the life they want. You know, sometimes you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you wake up and you just start to think, how did I get here? How did I get where all of these responsibilities and expectations are just weighing me down, and you're not quite sure what you can do about that. um, if that's you, then reach out to me because I would love to have a chat with you. As I said, I help women bridge where they are to where they want to be, and part of that is what we're going to talk about today. Knowing that you know you need to make a change, but you tell yourself all kinds of excuses. You know, before I left my career in TV news, I knew I knew it was time to leave. I felt disconnected from this life that I had built and that for years I loved, right? And many of you may be in the same situation. You've built a career that you love, you've nurtured, and then all of us, it feels like all of a sudden, but actually it's a gradual, it's a gradual move toward a new season in your life. Um, but I knew I no longer enjoyed what I was doing. It was a rinse and repeat every single day. Sure, in news, you get different things happen and you get breaking news and all of that, but the mechanics of it was the same. I was dealing with the same issues. And instead of dealing with it, I would say, I'm just a little tired. I'm a little stressed today. I was still functioning and still showing up. So on the outside, it looked okay, I thought. But on the inside, it's the inside that kills you because I was just a hot mess. And I know that for some of you that may feel the same way. You just feel off, not off enough to, take drastic measures, but just off enough where you feel disconnected from your life. and you feel, um, there's just low energy, low vibration, as they say these days, right? Um, I tried everything I could to make it go away, right? I took vacations. I did shopping sprees. I did mani-pedis. We do all the things that we think will help us um, avoid facing the issues that are ahead of us. But eventually, I noticed that none of that was working. And the feelings that I had inside, instead of going away, they were getting bigger and stronger. And that inner voice kept saying, it's time, it's time, it's time. But I held on. I wouldn't address those feelings because I like the paycheck. I like the benefits, right? I like the title. I like all of the external things, which I call the golden handcuffs that keep us chained to a life or a career that no longer fits us in the season that we're in. Um, and really, that's what avoidance looks like. We think avoidance is some big thing that, some um, something that happens and you realize that you've been avoiding it, but really it's a very slow process. It starts off with a little nudge, maybe that inner voice is nudging you, as it did me, saying that something is off, you need to address it. And we keep ignoring that, right? As women, we are masters at avoiding some of the issues that we need to face in our lives. We stay productive, we stay busy, right? We occupy our time. So we handle all of our responsibilities. And so it's easy to excuse it away until it isn't. The hardest part is recognizing the cost, what that's doing to you. For me, as I said, it was a low energy. It was a slow disconnect from uh, the authentic me, right? Every day, somebody else showed up, and that person would go through the motions. It wasn't really the true me, and that may be happening to you as well. Um, what eventually happens is it catches up with you. For me, the shift happened when I couldn't explain it away. I couldn't keep saying I was tired. When you use an excuse too long that you don't even believe it. That was me. I had used the excuse so many times. I looked myself in the mirror so many times and said, "Oh, it's nothing. You're just a little tired." That I had to come clean and say, "I don't even believe it." I had to really sit with the feelings of, what am I going to do after TV news? Who would I be? What would I do? How would I show up? Right. And I didn't want to face that uncertainty. But once I did, it was like the floodgates open. We talked about this a little bit in past episodes. When I came clean with myself, when I admitted that this life that I had built was over, that season was over, and it was time to move on. That lifted the weight off my shoulders. And I think it will do the same for you if you sit in your feelings and honestly reflect on what it is that your inner voice, that inner, that thing inside is telling you. Um, Once you face that truth, right, you'll feel like the weights have been lifted off, and it will free you to start looking ahead, right? Stop looking back, and look ahead at what the future could hold for you, and not being afraid of the future, right? I know that a lot of us are um, afraid of uncertainty, right? And so when we sit down and we think about, okay, what is the next season going to be like? It's hard to explain. It's hard to imagine because we have never let ourselves imagine what a new season would look like. But once you come clean with yourself, once you're honest with yourself, you can start to imagine who you could become. You start to imagine what a new life would look like for you in a new season of your life. It doesn't mean that immediately once you realize that you've been avoiding this challenge, that you're going to blow your life up. I'm not saying that. I didn't do that. When I made the decision, it took me 2 years. I wrote the resignation letter. I tell people about this story. I wrote the letter of resignation. I tucked it away. I got comfortable with change, with knowing that a major change was going to happen in my life. And then I prepared myself. And it took 2 years. So don't think that if you finally face whatever the challenge is that you face, that you have to immediately blow up your life. You don't. Honestly saying to yourself what's going on inside and whatever the challenge is opens up the avenues for you to think about who you could become and what you would do. So I want to ask you, what are you avoiding today? What is inside you telling you that a change is needed? You need a new direction. I want to urge you to stop brushing it aside and to sit with it and get comfortable with whatever it is. Like I said, I had to get comfortable with the fact that what I had done for 30, almost 40 years was no longer going to be what I was going to do in the next season of my life. And so I'm asking you to do that. Come clean with yourself and then allow yourself to imagine, to dream, to think about the next season of your life. Because I think once you do, you will find that telling the truth is like punching fear in the face, right? Once you tell the truth, you punch fear in the face. And it's like saying, you know what? I am strong, I am capable, and I know that you are. You guys have built careers and reared families and faced a lot of other challenges. And so I know that you can do this. And once you sit down and face the truth, it's like saying to fear, I'm not going to allow you to hold me in a lifestyle or career that no longer makes me happy. I hope this chat resonated with you. Please, whenever you watch this, please put it in the comment section, your thoughts. And again, if you need to reach out to talk to me about your situation, I'm happy to chat with you. I've been through this process and I know what it's like to be sitting there ready to go into a new season of your life. So reach out to me. And please, this is a shameless plug. Hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you'll be notified when any new videos are posted. Thanks for watching, Natasha. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.